Hi guys, it's Michelle, and today's video is probably going to be my favorite video I will ever film because it's related to Pretty Little Liars. Y'all know I love Pretty Little Liars. If you don't know, I've been rewatching it recently and I just finished, and I asked you guys when I started rewatching it if you guys wanted like a plot hole video because as I was rewatching I was like, literally none of this makes sense, but it's still the best show that's ever existed. I love it. I can't. Also, I'm in my Jade West era. Got a bit of a spooky background going on. Felt like it was PLL themed. And basically there's gonna be spoilers obviously, so if you haven't watched Pretty Little Liars, then don't do that. Also, I know that there's like a ton of videos on YouTube about all the plot holes and stuff, and I have not watched any of them. So like these are ones I've either observed myself or like Googled about, which is annoying because I am so irritating when I watch TV shows that I've already watched before. Like I will Google the answer. Like I was like, oh, who killed CeCe? Like who killed her? I literally Googled it and I like would have found out in a few episodes, but I just like couldn't wait. So that's my toxic trait. There's gonna be no rhyme or reason. We're just gonna be talking about some of the plot holes that I've noticed while I was rewatching. All right, so one of the #1 things that really annoyed me about Pretty Little Liars was the story of Charlotte, CeCe, whatever you would like to call her. I refer to her usually as CeCe because I like that name better than Charlotte's like a little long. Show a flashback of her and Bethany Young the night that Marion Kavanaugh, aka Toby's mom, died. And about how like Bethany was the one who pushed her off of the roof. This is like one of the biggest plot holes that I just like I don't understand why it was like, it just could have been so different, because basically they made the actors super young that it would have made no sense, because in I think season 4 or so they show a flashback between Toby and Allison where Allison and Toby are like teenagers at that point and they like kiss, but they get interrupted by Toby's mom. So Toby's mom was well alive while Toby was a teenager. So this makes no sense because CeCe is like 7 years older than Allie. So them showing Charlotte and Bethany Young as like kids in this scene doesn't really make any sense whatsoever, because that would mean that Marion died like when Toby was really young, which wasn't accurate to what we have seen in the past. Honestly, I'm not really even sure why this mistake was made. They could have used Vanessa Ray, like who played CeCe, to do this scene and it would have made sense. I don't know how they would have done it, but they just should have definitely done that differently. I have several issues with CeCe. So CeCe showed her cards way too early, which actually, honestly, I actually don't have several issues with CeCe. I liked CeCe as a character, and I think that like them having Charles and like the whole dollhouse, I really liked. I think that the PLL probably should have ended there. As much as I like would like it to go on forever. I think that this made perfect sense, even though there were obviously plot holes, because I don't think they anticipated CeCe being Charles so early on in the seasons. They did low-key, ever since that we've known CeCe, I think that she was planning to have her be A, and she is in Marlene King, like the writer of the show. It's so obvious. I can't believe I've never noticed it before. But in the first time we meet CeCe, she's doing the whole like trying to, you know, do her best Allison impression. Being like, you're always better off with a really good lie. I love it. I love Pretty Little Liars. I can't. I just love it. But anyway, so at that point, CeCe meets the liars, and it's I think Spencer, Emily, and Aria. And Hannah's not there, and she says like, oh, like I'm working at this new boutique, like if you ever want to do a little free shopping or whatever, she said to Aria, and Aria goes, I think you're thinking of Hannah. This is like a huge either plot hole or show that they planned on making CeCe A from the jump, because Hannah started shoplifting after Allison disappeared. So it would make no sense for CeCe to know that unless she was A, which she ended up being. So I think that that was like showing that, you know, CeCe being A was definitely a part of the plan the whole time. Also, CeCe was like literally redcoat. Like she was actually redcoat. Like I feel like it was just, I don't know how the dots weren't connected sooner. And I don't know if they like just plan on making CeCe redcoat, like a helper of A. Unsure, but either way, CeCe definitely showed her cards way too early, and it was really obvious that she was Charles from like an early point when the girls thought that Jessica De Laurentiis knew that Allison was missing, because they found like a bag of like brand new girls' clothes in Allison's bedroom that they were like, oh, okay, she knows Allison's alive. Show a shirt that Jessica bought for Allison, and then later you can see CeCe literally wearing this. So I think it's quite obvious that they actually had planned this out longer than what a lot of people think that they had, because obviously there are a lot of plot holes, so a lot of people assume that that was just because the writing was off and they wanted to keep changing up who A was because people had figured it out, whatever. But this was like a pretty obvious point that Jessica was the one who was buying clothes for CeCe, which would indicate that she was her daughter. Another thing that I find interesting is the whole Mary Drake plot of this and the Radley file and all of that stuff, because if CeCe really knew who Mary Drake was, which apparently she did because she obviously got the name Drake somewhere. And also she claimed that that was like her golden treasure, like that was hidden in the Radley, which she said to Sara Harvey, which we'll get into in a second. What's interesting about this is because CeCe is so obsessed with family, I find it hard to believe that she would know that Mary Drake is her mother and is alive, or maybe even just like trying to find any more information on Mary Drake. Like, I feel like she would have done that because she's like so obsessed with family and like, and was like, I don't know, don't you think she would have made like more of an effort to find Mary Drake, and she would have found her and everything would have been fine? Also, the way they ended CeCe/Charlotte's story really annoyed me. I think CeCe, had she became better and like actually like had done well in her time at Wilby or wherever the second sanitarium was called that she was at, I think that it would have been more interesting to get like more information out of her, to watch her find out that Mary Drake is like alive, to watch her like more find out about Alex, which she knew about Alex too, is like the weird thing. It's like, I don't know, there were so many weird plot holes of that, because why were they so concerned, both Alex and CeCe, with like finding their family, and they like loved that aspect, but then they would just like turn away Spencer, who's literally their sister. Makes no sense. But CeCe also favoritized Allison, even though Allison was just her cousin, and she knew that the whole time, that Spencer was actually her sister. Speaking of CeCe, why would she kidnap Sara Harvey? That plotline like makes absolutely no sense. Sara Harvey went missing and was allegedly in the bunker for 2 years when she went missing the same time Allison went missing. And that night that Allison disappeared, it was CeCe who hit Allie with a rock. What would be her purpose or her reasoning for kidnapping Sara Harvey? Like, at that point, of course, CeCe had spent time in Radley, but for her to like randomly kidnap a stranger, I don't feel like is in character at all. Hit Allison with a rock because she went to kill Bethany Young, who was trying to kill Allie. Like, she had a pretty clear motive, so it makes no sense to me that she would randomly kidnap Sara Harvey. Don't get it. And also, why did Sara Harvey, like, why was she so down to torture these random people that she literally didn't know? And especially because CeCe claims that she stole the game from Mona. This is like a really big plot hole in itself, because CeCe would like because at one point Ren gave CeCe a visitor's pass to visit Mona, but then also CeCe was like a patient there at Radley, so it kind of makes no sense. But either way, if CeCe stole the game from Mona, that makes even less sense of why she would kidnap Sara Harvey. Like, unless, like, what was she planning? Like, obviously the dollhouse, but then the fact that the dollhouse has been in production for 2 years and she wasn't even doing anything else, I don't know. I don't get it. Like, they should have really explained that more. Because Sara Harvey is a huge plot hole that makes no absolute sense. Speaking of Mona, she's got a lot of plot holes within herself, and I want to talk about one that is literally an unanswered question, which is who killed Ian Thomas. So this one I find very interesting, because as I was watching, I always thought that Allison killed Ian, because the bell tower moment happened, and Spencer and Ian were fighting on the bell tower and he was about to kill her, and that was revealed later that the person who went and pushed Ian off the bell tower was Allison. I always thought that he died on the bell tower and then Mona later just like moved his body to fuck with the liars, and I thought that that was like the whole point. However, Allison says when they like find her and she's telling the story of how she's alive and how she saved Spencer that day, she says that she pushed Ian off the bell tower and then she saw him walk out of the church. So who killed Ian? And I guess they set it up that Mona killed Ian, but I feel like that's, again, very out of character for Mona. It doesn't really make sense. Like, her staging a suicide with an already dead body, that I kind of understand. Like, that's very Mona. But Mona's, like, really not a killer low-key. Even though she tortured people with, like, the dollhouses and stuff, like, at the end of the series. I don't feel like she's, like, really a killer. Yes, she killed CeCe, but that was the only person that she killed because it was, like, self-defense, even in that point. And so I don't really think that it makes sense that Mona would have killed Ian for no reason. But that's why they could have made it seem like Ian saw her, or, like, I don't know. I don't know how they could have made it seem. Or they could have just, they should have just left it as that Allison killed Ian and then Mona moved his body, because that makes a lot more sense. But we never know who killed Ian, and apparently it's Mona, but I don't think that adds up to her character personally. Speaking of Mona, during her time at Radley, she was trying to help Emily find Maya's website, themathsugar.com, and she did that by, like, spelling out acronyms and saying, like, these weird phrases over and over again that ended up spelling out mathsugar.com. However, when she was doing this at Radley, Mona said a phrase, and it's an acronym that was never talked about later, and it was never uncovered. It just was forgotten about. She said, "Miss Arya, you're a killer, not Ezra's wife," which is an acronym for Maya knew. Maya knew what? Maya knew what? Why didn't they ever talk about that? Arya was there in the scene and she was hearing this happen. Like, I feel like I would have definitely wanted to remember the acronym that this bitch was saying that had my name in it. And I feel like I would have just, like, tried to figure it out, but they never talked about it. They just never did. So Maya knew what? Speaking of Arya at Radley, there's a scene where with Eddie Lamb, the guy who's, like, helping everyone. I don't know what his deal is or why, but whatever. There's a scene with him where he says that Arya looks familiar, and that's just never talked about again after that. So what does that mean? I don't know. Also, another sign that CeCe was showing her cards way too early was they literally show CeCe in a black hoodie listening at Ezra's apartment. I don't know how no one understood what was happening. Another plot hole that I've never understood about Pretty Little Liars, even when I rewatch it several times, is the NAT Club. It's like Latin for We See All. And I just feel like they never really quite explain why these people are in it, other than, like, yes, they took videos, like, very creepily of people. But that was, like, Ian's kind of thing. Like, why did Ian even share that with anyone, / why did everyone else get involved? And also, who else was involved? And also, why was Jenna working so damn hard to, like, cover it up? Like, Garrett is, like, not even that great. The thing that will never make sense, and the biggest plot hole of Pretty Little Liars as a whole, is the fact that these random ass people who don't even know Spencer, Arya, Hannah, and Emily are so down to just torture them and fuck with them. Like Archer Dunhill, Ren, who does know them, but we'll get into Ren in a second. Shauna being well, not even I don't even know what the fuck Shauna was. That just honestly made no damn sense. That was, like, very dramatic that Shauna was, like, willing to, like, kill them. Like, I just felt like, no way. Like, it just was, that was a really stressful plot. I did not like that. Also, I felt like they never really investigated who killed her. They just kind of were like, okay. Also, Noel Kahn. A note for Noel Kahn says, Noel Kahn, literally shut up. And I feel that the whole time. The entire fucking time I felt that. Like, is he that mad that, like, Arya didn't want to get with it? Like, I actually don't know what his whole deal was and why was he so obsessed. First, he was helping Allison, and then he ended up being, like, part of, like, the A team, like, with Alex Drake and AD team, I guess. Made no sense. I just felt like Noel Kahn, why was he so out to get everyone? Like, literally for what? Like, fucking relax. I think one of my biggest questions, and I'll end it with this. Like, I could honestly do a part 2, and if you guys have any plot holes that you want to talk about, I feel like I've definitely missed a ton of shit, but I was just writing them down as I was watching and going, so let me know. One of the biggest plot holes is, like, the end of the series, like, pretty much exactly what it ends on, which is Mona having Mary Drake and Alex Drake in a little dollhouse. And this makes virtually no sense. When Spencer was found, like, with Alex and Ezra, like, had missed his wedding day, like, that whole thing happened when Alex and Mary Drake got caught. The police were there, so, like, how the fuck did Mona convince the police custody to let her have them as her personal dolls? Because obviously this would never happen in real life. I guess a lot of this stuff wouldn't. If you have any other plot holes, sorry this video is so jumbled, but if you have any other plot holes of Pretty Little Liars, please let me know in the comments below. I want to discuss with you. That's it for today's video. If you guys liked it, please give it a big thumbs up. Like I said, let me know in the comments below what you guys thought about Pretty Little Liars and any plot holes that you have. I want to know. But that is it. Make sure you follow me on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram because I'm always posting really dope ass shit on there. Subscribe for new videos every week, and I will see you guys later. Bye.